Good morning. My name is Reverend Cynthia Cain, and in addition to being your minister, I'll also be your service coordinator this morning. Jenny will be our Zoom host, and Tina our co-host. And Sandy is joining us at GNUUC to light the chalice and the candles. Thanks, ladies. Thank you to Tina for putting together this week's service from the parts supplied by me. Our chalice lighting today is Sacred Unknowing, written by UU minister Amy Carol Webb. We light this flame for the art of sacred unknowing, humbled by all that we cannot fathom in this time. We come into the presence of what we do know, perhaps the only thing we can ever know, that love is now and forever the only answer to everything and everyone in every moment. Although we are still physically distancing, know that GNUUC is here to support you. Reach out to me. As you might need. I'm always glad to hear from you. And my email is cyncane@gnuuc.org. My cell phone is 859-221-3034. My cell service out here at my farm is better, but not perfect. So if you don't get an answer, please send a text. I will get that, and I'll call you back as soon as I can. Unitarian Universalism has no shared creed. As an inclusive community that embraces a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, with many philosophies and beliefs, we unite under a shared covenant instead. Please join me in reading our covenant. We covenant together to make a welcoming community, to walk together in the way of truth and love, to seek the life of the Spirit as it is known by each person, to support each other in thought, word, and deed as we work to build a better world. This is time for all sages, and it's really for any children who might be with us, but it's also for the child in each of us that struggles to understand, loss and losing a loved one. And I want to talk for just a moment about Sister Elaine Desrosiers. And she died this week from COVID. And I do know some members of the Black community here in my town or the town nearby who have died, but not as well as I knew Sister Elaine. Now, at least 5 of the retired nuns from the Mother House at St. Catherine, which is a beautiful place here in our community, have already died from coronavirus. I don't know how, because in many ways they're very isolated. They have their own rooms. But the first ones to die were the first days of December. So my guess about Sister Elaine is that she was helping and visiting or tending to care for those because she became ill on about December 10th or 11th, went to the hospital and she died. She did not want to be put on a respirator. That's Elaine. She was 90 years old. She was a friend to people from birth to 100. She was such a good friend to me. She always found something that resonated with everybody. She was an artist. She started painting in her 70s. And she had many, though she was 90, she had many years left. I met her at a Buddhist retreat, and we used to drive together to Buddhist meditation every Thursday. I gave her a ride. And she was like Thomas Merton because she was a secret Buddhist, but also Catholic. And she helped me to understand radical Catholicism much better. She supported the nuns on the bus, and you can look that up if you don't know about them, but they really were part of the resistance when the Pope ordered that all the nuns be quiet and, sort of shut up and sit down kind of thing. And the nuns on the bus didn't like it. And the Dominican sisters are not the only ones that have stood up at the School of the Americas protest and many other things. I remember when I said to her, I'm a Unitarian. I mean, I'm just not going to pull punches with you. I am pro-choice, and I know you're Catholic. It's just like this. A lot of us are pro-choice. Don't worry. She was just one of my best friends, and it's not that I didn't think she would ever die. I just didn't think it would be like this. And I've talked to a couple of people this week in our congregation who have lost loved ones just here at this holiday time. I don't know if it had anything to do with COVID, but John Brown, his dear beloved cousin, died, and perhaps he'll say more about that. And Charles and Nines, and perhaps others of you were friends with Diana Page, but she also died this week. So I think always around the holiday times, it's actually a fact that there are more deaths. And this year especially, it's hard. I was looking for a picture of Sister Elaine, and I found the one that you saw a moment ago on her Facebook. She put up a picture after the famous Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the RBG, died. And she was wearing a collar to acknowledge RBG and her fandom of her. But one of the last, or maybe the last post that she made a few days before she went into the hospital with coronavirus was this song that I'm going to share with you now. And she was always thinking of others, and here it is. Dum, 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 dum.
Here's to the ones that we got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not, 'cause the dreams bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Close to the ones here today, close to the ones that we lost on the way, 'cause the dreams bring back all the memories, and the memories bring back you. There's a time that I remember when I did not know no pain, when I believed in forever and everything would stay the same. Now my heart feel like December when somebody say your name, 'cause I can't reach out to call you, but I know I will one day, yeah.
Everybody hurts sometimes, everybody hurts someday, yeah. But everything will be alright. Go as your voice will say, hey.
Here's to the ones that we got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not, 'cause the dreams bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Close to the ones here today, close to the ones that we lost on the way, 'cause the dreams bring back all the memories, and the memories bring back you. Do 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 do. time that I remember when I never felt so lost. When I felt that all the hatred was too powerful to stop. Now my heart feels like an ember, and it's lighting up the dark. I'll carry these torches for ya, that you know I'll never drop. Yeah.
Everybody hurts sometimes, everybody hurts someday, hey, hey. But everything gon' be alright. Go and raise your voice and say, hey.
Here's to the ones that we got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not. 'Cause the dreams bring back all those memories of everything we've been through. Close to the ones here today, close to the ones that we lost on the way. 'Cause the dreams bring back all the memories, and the memories bring back you. Do 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 do. Memories bring back you. Do 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 do. Memories bring back you. Do 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 do. Memories bring back you. Here's to the one. Memories bring back you. Here's to the one. Memories bring back you. Memories bring back you.
Mhm. I should have mentioned that was the One Voice Children's Choir, and you can find that on YouTube and sing it some more if you'd like to. It's beautiful, and it's also a really great way to work with children, your children or other children, about loss. Memories really matter. They really matter. This month's Share the Plate organization is the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. UUSC advances human rights and social justice around the world. GNUUC has a long history of supporting UU Service Committee. So here's how to give. There are multiple ways you can donate. At NashvilleUU.org, our website, click Donate and choose the account Share the Plate or Pledge. That's one way. Text 615-246-5553. The amount plus the account. Text $20 share to give to Share the Plate. Text $50 pledge or $50,000 pledge to contribute to your pledge. You can also mail a check to GNUUC. Find the address on our website and indicate if it is for Share the Plate for UU Service Committee or for your pledge. Jenny wrote this first sentence. I thought a lot about the appropriate meditation for today, and that translates as I changed it like 10 times. And I was still changing things this morning because I wanted it to be so perfect for all of you. And I was having self-doubt. But yeah, I finally realized that we could do the metta meditation because we're focusing a little bit. The whole service won't be on loss and sadness, but we are focusing a little bit on dealing with losses, and not just from the pandemic, not just from the coronavirus, but loss comes up at Christmas time. It's the people that won't be with us, whether they died, my nephew died 15 years ago today, or whether they died, a week ago. We just think about them at holidays. So you may or may not have done meditation before. Usually it takes, 40 minutes. We don't have that amount of time, but you can do it in 5 minutes, and you'll have 5 minutes while some music plays to do it. So you start out, sit quietly, and if you like, you can, stop your video for 5 minutes, but actually maybe keep it on because there's a great song that's going to play, and I think you could keep looking at the screen for that. But start out singing along with the song. It's very easy lyrics. You can just get it right away. And start out with yourself. And it's called I'm Sending You Light, but you're going to send that light to you. If it's easiest to send it to your child, the youngest child that you remember yourself, and really embrace who you were and still are in some ways. Next, while you sing to yourself, I'm sending you light, think of a person that you just saw, like maybe in the store, a cashier, or, in passing somewhere that you might see regularly, the post office person. I live in a small town, so it's the same UPS guy. Comes every day right now. I say to him, we got to stop meeting like this. He's there every day. Or someone like that you don't know well, but you see them, and then send the light to that person, sort of like that neutral person. I'm sending you light. Okay, third, someone that you've had trouble with. It might be someone in this congregation. I hope not. It could be me, but I don't think so, because we haven't really had any trouble yet. But in your family or in your life, somebody that you've had a difficult time, and keep singing, I'm sending you light to that person. Get a little harder, it gets a little harder. And then to someone who you deeply love and admire and you feel very close to. And finally, send it out to the world, to all the people who are struggling. Most places, people are struggling much more than we are. That doesn't diminish our sadness. So I'm sending you light, myself. Here's how good. Myself, someone I love dearly, a neutral person, someone I've had trouble with, and to the world. But just however it comes out for you, that's okay. It's metta. It's loving kindness meditation. You don't have to do it perfectly. Just don't forget yourself, okay? All right. And here's the music, which I think you'll enjoy.
I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. No matter where you go, no matter where you've been, you'll never walk alone. I feel you deep within. So I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you, hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. No matter what you feel or what you choose to show, I'm always there for you. And so I want you to know that I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I walk the path with you. Go slow, dear one, don't hurry. I'll go just like you need to go. There is no need to worry, 'cause I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love.
I think Melanie Jamore is UU. I couldn't find out for sure, but they have made their music accessible to UU congregations. And this song was apparently for her sister, or their sister. So, good one. You can also find a lot of Melanie Jamore's music if you look for it. Demore is her last name. I think she still goes by she. 100% sure. This is a poem by Denise Levertov called The Annunciation. And for those who were not raised in or around the Christian faith, the Annunciation is when God sent one of his angels to Mary, who was supposedly about 14 years old. And the angel, knock on the door, came in and was like, hey, you're going to have a baby. And guess what? It's going to be God's baby. And what would you do if something like that happened to you or your daughter? It's quite improbable scenario, don't you think? And the whole thing, the virgin birth, is kind of a breaking point for some people. But Christians have tried to redeem the story. Anyway, Denise Levertov wrote this poem called Annunciation. We'll start there. We know the scene, the room variously furnished, almost always a lectern, a book, always the tall lily arrived on solemn grandeur of great wings, the angelic ambassador standing or hovering, whom she acknowledges, a guest. But we are told of meek obedience. No one mentions courage. The engendering spirit did not enter her without consent. God waited. She was free to accept or to refuse. Choice integral to humanness. Aren't there annunciations of one sort or another in most lives? Some unwillingly undertake great destinies, enact them in sullen pride, uncomprehending more often these moments when roads of light and storm open from darkness in a man or woman are turned away from in dread, in a wave of weakness, in despair, and with relief. Ordinary lives continue. God does not smite them, but the gates close, the pathway vanishes. She'd been a child who played, ate, slept like any other child, but unlike others, wept only for pity, laughed in joy, not triumph. Compassion and intelligence fused in her, indivisible. Called to a destiny more momentous than any in all of time, she did not quail, only asked a simple, "How can this be?" and gravely, courteously took to heart the angel's reply, the astounding ministry she was offered. She did not cry, "I am not worthy," nor "I have not the strength." She did not submit with gritted teeth, raging, coerced, bravest of all humans. Consent illuminated her. The room filled with its light, the lily glowed in it, and the iridescent wings. Consent, courage unparalleled, opened her utterly. I'm going to take a slightly different look at our theme for the month, which is stillness, in case you forgot. There are ways in which stillness has been problematic. And the Annunciation is one. Although Levertov tries to redeem it, and progressive Christians do as well, she's insisting that Mary had choice and she consented. Oh, it is interesting in the light of the Me Too generation. But still, Mary, I'll come back to Mary in a couple minutes. Start with the Hebrew Testament verse, translated as, "Be still and know that I am God." That's from the Psalms. Be still and know that I am God. The Hebrew word for still does not actually translate, does not mean there, like any word that's translated from Hebrew or Greek, there are many different words in Hebrew for still. And I mean, still has many different meanings. And this one is actually translates as let go, stop striving, stop grasping, surrender, let go. No, in this case, means acknowledge. So it's not about a command. No, it's acknowledge, and it's an active letting go, and not a passive, just sit there and shut up because I'm God. Being still can be problematic when one is forced by tradition, by oppression, by fear, by gender, by shame. So what I'm going to talk about in being still is it makes a difference whether you're forced to be still or whether you choose to be still. This forcing stillness happens too often. Being silent can be harmful. Can be harmful to others and to yourself. It happens to children way too often, and almost all of us have done this, when children are told, no, be quiet, sit still, don't touch that. It's pretty much, no is pretty much the first word that children hear. My daughter went to a Spanish immersion school for 12 years, and the teachers never speak in English to the students. So from the very beginning of the first day, the teacher said, siéntate, like sit down and shut up. And it's pretty much what most of us have to do. We do it because we don't want them to burn themselves or hurt themselves, but no. And we gradually take the spontaneity away from them. It happens to adolescents. Adolescents are shamed for touching or for finding pleasure in their bodies. It happens to young women who are often coerced into looking or acting in ways that the male gaze finds attractive. It happens to women of all ages. There's a difference between being still and being stilled. Women continue to be silenced and stilled in church, in mosques, in synagogues, in most places of worship, but not this one. The interpretation of the biblical story of the Annunciation, the virgin birth, and the Pietà, that's Mary and the beautiful statue in Rome, at the Vatican, of Mary holding the Jesus who's taken down from the cross. I cried when I saw that, when I was there and I saw that. It's a story of every mother who, not just sons, have suffered, but of every person, I think. They all depict Mary, though, as kind of a passive, a vessel in a way, maybe not quite that far, but with a lack of agency. She's just got to take it, and she takes it. They set the stage for the worst Christian justifications of patriarchy and misogyny. So whether they were meant to or not, they do. Women are stilled literally by clothing. Clothing that binds their feet, and I'm not just talking about foot binding, in the Orient. I'm talking about Melania Trump and her 5-inch heels and pointy toes. Have you ever seen anybody's feet that wore those kind of shoes for a long time? Binds their feet, their loins, their torsos, and hides their hair and faces. They're stilled by forces who deny them control over their own bodies. I know this doesn't sound like a Christmas or a solstice sermon, does it? It's going to get better. I'm bringing you some light at the moment. So this is the important part. It's not just men who perpetrate this, and it's not just men who perpetuate it either. So this is not a feminist screed about men. I have sons, I have a husband, I have a brother, and I love men. I have more men friends than women friends. Women are sometimes the most cruel to one another and the most complicit in silencing and stilling their daughters, other women, and probably most tragically, themselves. Women are shushed in classrooms, in conferences and boardrooms, where men dominate the discussion and get more positive recognition, even from women teachers and professors. Even when women are allowed to speak up. If we women, this was just happening to me in this group of rabbis and ministers that I've been in Nashville, like this virtual group. I realized it. If we don't just bottle up the rage that we feel sometimes and you know, smile, we are ostracized and we get referred to as bitches. So much of the time. When my daughter spent a semester in Israel, she went many times to the Wailing Wall, where a group of women gathered regularly to pray and sing in defiance of the rules, Orthodox rules against women praying in public or singing in public. She was often accosted in Jerusalem by the ultra-Orthodox, the Haredi, for her having bare legs or bare arms or her head uncovered. I mean, they literally would spit and like, you know, yell at her on this sidewalk. So it's not just Christianity. Even Buddhism has marginalized women. Women are expected in many cultures, and sometimes still in this culture, to sit still while being joked about, made fun of, touched inappropriately, sexually transgressed, and even raped. You know what? People my age, I'm 65, experienced a lot of this. But you know what bothers me? It's still happening. And women, young women, are a part of it. I'm not saying, I'm not victim blaming. I'm not saying, oh, she deserved it because she dressed a certain way. It's a bit more complicated than that. Women have been, for a long time, at least a century, expected to be still when giving birth. And that has not been a good thing for childbirth. I wish I could tell you how much anger came up in me when I was writing this sermon. It might not have been a good idea to talk about stillness in this way when I was watching the documentary on Netflix about Dominique Strauss-Kahn and all the women that he sexually assaulted while getting away with it because he had a lot of money. And yet, women still also silence one another and, like I said, silence ourselves, because that is how shame works. So here we are, solstice eve. Tomorrow is the solstice, the day when the light begins to increase, the day when we turn away from despair and turn toward hope. So let's dig ourselves out of that hole that I just dug about stillness. And this year, what is our hope? We hope to rise. We hope to rise. To rise from a stillness that none of us asked for. We've all been silenced in some ways. We've all been stilled or confined in some way. We've stayed home. We've sacrificed travel. visits, church, family time, gym workouts, work, and learning. Almost everyone has lost a loved one, an acquaintance, or knows someone who has. There's really been nothing in our time like this. Even the horror of 9/11, which killed more than 3,000 Americans, is now matched and gone beyond every day in deaths. As I told you, one of my dear friends died a few days ago, and my Buddhist teacher's father, who is 91, is succumbing to COVID any day. So in the face of this, what does still mean? Nevertheless, it means, still we rise. That poem, that Maya Angelou poem that we all know now. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I rise. Still I rise. So that's a different meaning of the word still. Nevertheless, anyway, notwithstanding, however, moreover, be that as it may, still we will rise. So that's Maya Angelou. Still I rise. And of course, she's writing as a Black woman in the 20th century. But there's something that resonates in every heart with that. Still I rise. Nevertheless, she persisted. That's what Mitch McConnell said in criticism about Elizabeth Warren, and it became a saying, a popular saying that women wore on t-shirts. Nevertheless, still, she persisted. We are still here. We are still here. That's a saying of the American Indian movement. We're still here. Lots of people go through their whole lives without ever meeting an Indigenous person, or at least not knowing that they have met an Indigenous person. We're still here. God is still speaking. That was one of the first publicity campaigns of the United Church of Christ, which is the most liberal of the progressive Christian churches. And when I saw that, I was like, oh man, they got it going on. They're going to eat our lunch, because that's a cool saying. God is still speaking. We didn't let the ink dry. We didn't close the book and be like, okay, that's it. We're open to new stuff. And ucc.org, I should tell you, because you might leave our church and go over to theirs. But they have great publicity. I loved it when they said God is still speaking. Still speaking. We prepare for this. We prepare for this moment, for this year. And I don't mean anything like doomsday prepping. It's obviously we didn't do doomsday prepping because people had a mad rush for toilet paper, which doesn't that seem like this sort of ancient nostalgia when people were going to go get toilet paper? But by prepared, I mean the resistance. We prepared. The resistance began, who knows when it began? Maybe it began with Jesus. But it began when people could see the difference between truth and lies, and people stood up for the truth. But came alive in 2017 with the Women's March. This resistance came alive 2017. And everything that came after: art, activism, journalism, poetry, late night comedy, protests, lots of protests, grassroots voter turnout, kitchen table wrangling, whether you gave money, voted, or got arrested, you were part of the resistance because you're part of this congregation and part of the UUA. Quietly and also noisily, young people worked like never before. Maybe not never before, but like not for a long time. When the pandemic hit, like a tidal wave in this election year, knocking every campaign and every organizer back light years. Young people and old people and middle-aged people had to become very creative and resourceful, but they did not quit. Still, they persisted. Nevertheless, we persisted. We became more determined, more resourceful, more generous. And that's happened with this congregation. When the pandemic closed our doors, we stayed together. We created new things. And you stayed with us. Nevertheless, we persisted. Still, we're together. I think when we look back on this era and it's behind us, years or decades from now, as some of you it'll be decades, I think it'll be the grit, the determination, the selflessness, and the great love and compassion that was released that will be remembered way more than the hardships. Yeah, we were stilled, but in this stillness, when we chose to be still, we weren't victims. We chose to let go, and we made room for something new and astonishing to unfold. That is self-love and self-regard, which vanquishes narcissism and self-abnegation and opens the way for love of humanity. I hope you have felt that. And I'll close with another short poem that has the word still in it. In the new, the new way I'm talking about still, as in nevertheless. It's from Ed Brown, who is a Zen monk, and he wrote a book called the Tassajara Bread Book. It's very famous back in the 70s. Some of you may have it. I love this poem, and I spent an hour looking for it, so I hope you love it too. We chose to be still. That's not the poem yet. We did it for one another in that beautiful thing. Here's a poem from Ed Brown. Any moment. Preparing this meal, we could be gassed 30,000 feet in the air, soon to fall out poisonous on leaf, frond, and fur. Everything in sight would cease and still. Still we cook, putting 1,000 cherished dreams on the table to nourish and reassure those close and dear. In this act of cooking, I bid farewell. Always I insisted, you alone were to blame. This last instant, my eyes open and I regard you with all the tenderness and forgiveness I withheld for so long. With no future, we have nothing to fight about. Amen. You can sing along with Dan Schatz, who is the minister of the UU Church in Westchester, Pennsylvania. He's a birthright UU. He's been singing all his life. He has sung with Gene Ritchie, Utah Phillips, and Pete Seeger. You can find him at Dan Schatz, SCHATZ.com. His music. Sing along.
Hail the blessed morn when the great mediator down from the regions with glory descend. Shepherds go worship the babe in the manger. Lo, for a guard, the bright angels attend. Brightest and best of the sons of the morning, dawn on our darkness and lend us thine aid. star of the east, the horizon adorning, guide where our infant Redeemer is laid. Cold on his cradle, the dewdrops are shining. Low lies his head with the beasts of the stall. Angels adore him in slumber reclining. Wise men and shepherds around him do fall. Brightest and best of the sons of the morning, dawn on our darkness and lend us thine aid. Star of the east, the horizon adorning, guide where our infant Redeemer is laid. Say, shall we yield him in costly devotion, odors of Edom and offerings divine, gems from the mountain and pearls from the ocean, myrrh from the forest, gold from the mine, brightest and best of the sons of the morning, dawn on our darkness and lend us thine aid. Star of the east, the horizon adorning, guide where our infant Redeemer is laid. Vainly we offer such ample oblations, vainly with gifts would his favor secure. Richer by far are the heart's adorations, dearer to God are the prayers of the poor. Brightest and best of the sons of the morning, dawn on our darkness and lend us thine aid. Star of the east, the horizon adorning, guide where our infant Redeemer is laid.